What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Glock. We are here with Hoop. He'll be back shortly, though. If you see the chair there, he'll be here. Don't worry. But we are talking NBA. We are talking a nice little 3-game slate. And Glock, before we kind of get in and talk about everything, you know what we need to tell the people? We need to tell them to hit that like and hit that subscribe, because the last time I was on a show, Glock, I don't know. Did you see what happened the last time that I did a show and what happened to the people?
Yeah, the plays got withheld. You hate to see it. I mean, I saw in the chat that people were like, "Oh, they always give out the free plays or whatnot." But no, yeah, gotta drop the likes, or else someone's gonna lay down the hammer.
Yeah, and we got to drop the likes because you're here, right? I was expecting DC to be here showing up, but it's not DC. We got Glock here and excited to break down this slate. Before we kind of dive in with everything, let's go over to Hoop. He is back. People were wondering where you were, Hoop. You're laying down the law over there at the Hoop household. How is it going for you?
Oh, disaster over here. Everything was going well. This afternoon, I got to use my billy goat. I call it the beast. Got to suck up all the leaves, the dead grass. It was a good start to the day. Had a carpet job going on in the house, and come to find out, they started laying the carpet, and they laid it right over the old padding. Like, you get new carpet, you want new padding. So it's a full-on freaking disaster at the Hoop household right now. Full chaos. Full chaos.
Yeah, well, we got chaos at Hoop's house, but you know what? He is still here. He's still bringing you the winners, and we got tons of winners over here at Rum Pure Sports. If you check it out, here's our members never win segment, which is not true. The members have been crushing it over here at Rum Pure. Mike H won 16K in NHL. Slick Derula, nice little 25K. TMR06, he took down 67K in NBA. We also had someone take a nice little qualifier the other day. I think it was DFS Sweatboy, I think was the Twitter name I saw. So he took home a nice little amount of money. I think it was 66K, hit the qualifier. So that's awesome. Congrats to him. Congrats also to Mike J32, $118,000. And then, hey, we got NFL Showdown tonight, and Matt S has been crushing it on NFL Showdown. He had a recent little hit of 30K. Mike H had a nice little 500K hit. That was with the backup quarterback. Glock, before we kind of talk some NBA, you got any takes for the NFL Showdown tonight, or any predictions on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't built any teams, to be honest, but I'm probably just gonna be like the crowd and build Baltimore heavy. I mean, I just don't see how you can avoid it. I know you like to do the little 4-2 underdog, so I'll be interested to see your takes on that on this slate, running 4-2 Dolphins side. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna try to be more heavy on the Baltimore side and see a blowout.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if the 4-2 Dolphins thing happens. I've looked at it. It's not pretty, but I made a couple that weren't terrible. The problem is I want Lamar in my captain. I just feel like it sounds lame, but I don't know. I don't see how he doesn't get there with it. Hoop, I will go over to you before we kind of dive into the NBA, which it's a messy NBA slate. We got a lot of news that'll be dropping on this one. Showdown predictions. I mean, are we playing double kicker? Is it tight end season? Are we playing Lamar in the captain? Got any showdown takes for the people, Hoop?
It's definitely at least one kicker, and it's going to be Justin Tucker. I mean, Tucker always treats us right, and
I love Justin Tucker. He's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm getting exposure to him on a lot of my teams.
Just great play. The other guy, who is it? Sanders, right on the mind. A little more risky in this spot. I mean, to me, the Dolphins just suck. Like, I just don't think the Dolphins are a very good football. That's not a hot take or anything, but I think they're really bad. So I prefer the kickers on the side that is projected to win. So obviously Tucker I like a little bit more, but it did work out on Monday night for me with what was the guy's name? Santos, I believe, was the kicker for the Bears that got the job done. So it's always possible the kickers, and our boy Sanders only 3.4K. You know, a lot of times you see these guys 3.8-ish. 3.4, it's a bargain price tag. So I will have exposure to both kickers. The tight ends, though, I mean, just smashing on these showdown slates. Absolutely incredible. Andrews, I think, is a phenomenal play. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be Lamar captain season for sure. I mean, I just don't even know who else you really consider here. I mean, maybe Mark Andrews, but it's tough to really pinpoint many captains in this game. It could be Tucker. Maybe Tucker's our guy in the captain spot.
Maybe. I don't know if I could do that. I do think he correlates a little bit with Lamar and the flex, right? Because if Lamar is not getting the touchdowns, then of course Tucker's getting the job done in the captain more than likely. I might take some stabs at some Brissett in the captain. We'll see if that works out. But Hoop, the way tight ends have been hitting, you could consider Mike Gesicki and Mark Andrews for sure too. I mean, but it is definitely a Lamar captain one. But we're not going to talk too much more NFL. We're going to talk some NBA. Hoop, before we dive into NBA, I want to ask you two things. One, tell the people about the code RPS Heater 25, all the sports, one price, give the spiel on that. And then also, we already discussed this, but I want to make sure it's known one more time, Hoop. The lights got withheld the last time you were on the show, and you don't want that to happen again, right?
Sergeant Mangone laid it down. I mean, he said, we're hitting this. If we don't, we're out. We didn't hit it, we got out. So that's the new gold standard. We'll check back in. I mean, it's only a 3-game NBA slate. We got NFL going, obviously. So we got to see where we get in terms of the views, and that will let us know like where we need to be on the likes. And like you said, yeah, we still got RPS Heater 25 going right now. 25% off your first payment at Run Pure Sports, which includes every sport that we offer. And we basically cover every DFS sport that's offered on DraftKings. So right now is a good time to get in with all the sports going on. And I know I've teased this a little bit throughout the week, but we have a big announcement coming probably early next week. And you're going to want to be a member at Run Pure Sports to take advantage of this offer that we're going to be able to throw out to our current members. So join right now, RPS Heater 25.
Yep, and get those likes in, because again, we're on delay, right? So you can't flirt with that line too much. I mean, people were mad. I think I was talking and signing off, and it was at 250, but just get it home now so we don't have to worry about it, and we can dive in and talk about this NBA slate. It's a good one. It's definitely a little dicey though when it comes to the injuries. Got to kind of figure out what your plan is going into the slate. Glock, do you have a plan going into the slate before we kind of dive in? Got any like slate strategy for the people to start off with?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like 2 key points of this slate I think that we kind of want to touch on, and there's like 3 really good centers that I think people are going to have to decide on. One's Drummond, one's Precious Achiuwa, and then the other one's Bam Adebayo, who's now questionable. And the tricky part about that is he's in the late game, and he just got ruled questionable midday. So that's going to be one of the main points. And the question you have to ask yourself is if you want to backload, because obviously if the Miami Heat are in, Tyler Hero and Bam, then they make for great plays in running it back with Paul George in that late night hammer. However, if they are out, then you could have like Kyle Lowry and a bunch of dust buckets versus Paul George, which could lead to blowout potential. So yeah, you kind of have to decide your route and whether or not you want to take the risk in backloading or just pick an early spot and load up on that and then maybe get value later. But yeah, I mean, I think lineup flexibility is going to be like a huge thing tonight. So just keep that in mind, pay attention to the news. And yeah, that's kind of my plan.
Yep, that is a good plan on this slate. Hoop, let's just dive right in and go to you and talk about the Sixers, because I got to talk Andre Drummond with you, one of your favorites in the NBA. What are you doing with him today? Because he's 8.6K on DraftKings. He is 9.1K on FanDuel. Those are some hefty price tags with now Tobias Harris in. I mean, this is not the same situation. It is a little bit different. So it is a short slate. That kind of makes it where Andre Drummond, I think, still is in play. If it was more like a 6-gamer, I think you wouldn't be playing him. But with the Bam news too, Drummond is in play. But the question is, do you lock and load him? Do you think he's going to be too high owned? Or do you think he's just overpriced at this point? Or is he underpriced too? How are you handling this one?
Yeah, I mean, the last few slates, it's just been like a no-brainer. You just lock them in and kind of move on. Well, now there's a couple more variables. One, the price tag has come up quite a bit. He's 8.6K on DK. And Tobias Harris returns, which I think is a little less concerning of the two. I'm more concerned with the price going up than Tobias returning. I mean, Andre Drummond is a great fantasy player. Like he racks up steals, blocks, rebounds, those putbacks. He's a terrible real life basketball player. I mean, I don't need to go down that path. I've covered it a million times on these shows, but for fantasy, he's an asset. Well, now he's 8.6K, not a must play in the spot, but clearly one of the better center plays, as Glock kind of pointed out. Where the slate just gets difficult though is the Hero and Bam situation, where they're both labeled as questionable. It makes it really hard to load up early. I mean, this first game's at 7 Eastern, so we have a 7 Eastern. Then we have 2 hours later a game with the Pacers and the Jazz, and then an hour and a half after that we have the Heat Clippers. You almost have to decide what you're going to do right from the get-go. I mean, do you think Hero and Bam play? If so, you build your teams like that. If you think that they sit, got to build your teams that way, because you're probably not going to have the flexibility. I personally think they play. Like, I mean, they've been questionable last couple slates, I believe, and have played. No Jimmy Butler tonight, unless they're just going to totally throw this game away, which I don't think they do. I personally, building my teams, assuming they play. Because if you build your teams assuming they're out and then they end up playing, you're effed, because I mean these guys, the price tags are just ridiculous. On Hero at 6-1. I mean, these guys were in play. Good. These guys are good plays if Butler's in. Okay, like at their price tag. 7-4 for Bam, Butler in, still a great price tag. Hero 6-1, Butler in, still a great price tag. If they're out, if he's out, like then they're just locked. So we know Butler's out. If these guys are in, you need them in your lineups tonight. So I'm just playing, assuming they're in, building my teams like that. Now back to this game with the 76ers. Drummond is fine at 8-6. Obviously, like the Heat guys more than him, but he's fine to pair with the Miami guys. With Tobias Harris back, it makes it really difficult to trust any of these other guys like Maxey, Milton, Curry, Korkmaz, Niang. Like you can't really, I don't think you can play any of those guys. The only dude on the 76ers that I'm really considering, Andre Drummond. Now on the Raptors side of things, what's his name again? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
No Pascal Siakam?
Pascal Siakam out tonight. So a boost to a few guys. Obviously, Precious, 4.2K, get the start here. I mean, he was already playing mid-20s in terms of minutes. Could get up to like 30 tonight. Only 4.2K, phenomenal play. Van Fleet's a good play. Svi Mikhailuk, I think, is in play a little bit at 3.5K as a value. The price tags are tough on like Scotty Barnes, 6-6, OG at 7-6. I definitely prefer the cheaper guys, Precious, Svi, and then Van Fleet. I have some interest in as well. I mean, we got a game that should stay pretty close, only 4-point spread here, so there's definitely some appeal.
Yeah, definitely a game that you want to consider. I mean, we got some guys in the Raptors that I guess I like OG Anunoby a little bit more than you, and Precious now with no Khem Birch. Precious is definitely in play, but man, Precious has not been the most fun roster. And then we got Chris Boucher just waiting to play, but Nick Nurse does not want to play him. If Nick Nurse does happen to put him in the starting lineup, which I don't think he will, then I'd feel more confident. I mean, Nick Nurse is the guy that when you see his starters, you know who's going to get the majority of the minutes. Of course, some of those bench guys could easily get some, but I think that it's very obvious that Nick Nurse will be running his starters into the ground. I'll go over to you, Glock. What are you doing with Drummond and the Sixers? And then what are you doing with these Raptors guys? Because they definitely have some value, but they are priced up a little bit.
Oh yeah, like Hoop said, I think this slate is a little tricky because of the questionable tags of Hero and Bam. But if they're out, obviously this game becomes a priority. But you can't predict the future or get injury news in the future. So you kind of just have to work with what you got. And then I kind of agree with Hoop, and basically I'm going to build like they're going to play. So that way, at the very least, you can rotate your lineup around to make pivots to at least have starters in your lineup rather than be so salary constrained. But yeah, in regards to this game, Pascal's out for rest. So, my prediction is Precious slides into the starting lineup, which makes him a great value play. But then again, you never really know with Nick Nurse. So, it could be Boucher that slides in. And if he does, obviously Boucher would then become a really good play. So just pay attention to that. But I do lean Precious. And, if Boucher were not to play, I personally don't think he's in play. I think I saw a clip on Twitter where Boucher was like, just jumped the ball like at half court, 2 possessions in a row, and it just looked horrible defensively. So you kind of understand why Nick Nurse doesn't like Boucher. But yeah, I also agree with Hoop where he said Svi is a good play. He would be lower owned than like a Duncan Robinson or a PJ Tucker in that later game. So that could be an interesting value play pivot. So yeah, I also do like Scotty Barnes. Without Pascal, I think he just has a way higher ceiling as well as OG. So they are definitely in play for me as well from the Raptor side. And then if you go over the Sixer side, Seth Curry's still questionable. So if he's in, I'm not sure if I have much interest on anyone from the Pacer side other than Andre Drummond. Drummond's price, as you said, has elevated to where, I think his ownership won't be near what it has been in the past 2 slates, like probably half. So yeah, I mean, it's also interesting to see like, how Tobias is going to be. Is he going to be limited coming back from COVID? I don't think I've seen any quotes or anything like that from Doc, but maybe before the game we'll get some more clarity on like his minutes or something like that. But I think he's like 8,800 on FanDuel. I mean, on DK. So I don't know. I think if Seth is in, I stay away from this game other than some Raptors pieces. But Drummond is also in consideration as one of the stronger center plays for sure.
Yeah, and you don't have to load up on this game, and maybe that'll give you enough time to get the news on Hero and Bam. But it is an hour and a half gap from the 9 o'clock game to the 10:30, which typically when you get the coach coming in for the press conference, that is an hour and a half before. Now you might get it before, you might not. So that is one of the decisions you might have to make. That is definitely worth watching. One other thing, Glock, you talked about Tobias Harris, and we might get a quote from Doc. Like, I mean, if you do get a Doc quote, do you actually believe the quote? That's my question for you.
No, Doc is a total donkey, but you can always speculate, and all these COVID quotes that have come out, it seems to like always be in reverse. Like Jaylen Brown's like on an asthma, using a inhaler for his asthma from COVID, and then he drops like a 70 ball in fantasy. So, I mean, you never know nowadays. So I'm just kind of saying it could kind of be a little bit in your research process, maybe.
Yeah, no, I am with you on that. Hoop, what do you think about Doc? I mean, do you think you trust anything out of his mouth for this game? Because I don't. So that's just something I wanted to mention, because I think we always have this team at 7 o'clock. We always see Doc quotes at 5:30 Eastern, right before the games. You can't believe them. So that's something I just want to mention for the people, that they know, hey, if Doc says there's going to play 10 guys, they might not play 10 guys.
And one of the worst coaches for like DFS purposes. I mean, look at what he's done with Embiid for the last couple or all last season, questionable every game. Like, they knew whether or not Embiid is playing. Like, why do you have to list him questionable every single day? And then they wait super late to like announce the status of their guys. But yeah, just not a very DFS friendly coach. Thank God though, it's a East Coast team and not one of like these West Coast like 10 p.m. Eastern teams. That would be a disaster.
Yep.
Yeah, what was the quote, Mango? It was like the last game. It was like Maxi's playing really, really tired, so we may need to limit him a little more. He played 39 minutes. He played 39 minutes last game. It's like
my favorite of the 10. Then they said we're going to play 10 guys, and that added like 3 different random guys to the rotation. Was when they made their first substitution. Like Maxi came out, Drummond came out. When they made the second substitution, Maxi came back in. It wasn't like they went to one of the other guys. It made zero sense. So it was very confusing. They did play some of the guys, but not all of them. And there was a lot of minutes played by those Sixers. But yeah, this is definitely a game that's good, but you can make an argument to backload it a little bit and go over to the next game. Something I do want to mention, I'm having a conversation in the Discord chat, and I kind of said, hey, I think Tyler Hero plays. I think Bam plays. And Pensac was saying, oh, anytime the guy is questionable, like, do you think he's just going to play the next game? I said, I don't think that's the case. But if you are going to play these guys, right, if you're going to play Tyler Hero, you're going to play Bam. What you need to do is come up with a plan, right? Don't just say, I'll figure it out when I get there. Figure it out. Like, just, you have the time now. Don't be sitting here and just like messing around in chat. Just figure it out now while you listen along to us. And obviously hit that like right before you do that too. You want to make sure the likes and subscribes are there. Helps us out a ton and makes our producer happy, Simon, behind the scenes. And he's got a nice little showdown slate tonight, so he's already excited. So keep him excited and keep the good mojo flowing. Glock, let's go over to you. Let's go over to the next game. Let's talk Pacers. Let's talk Jazz. And this is another game where we got some news, right? LeVert out. We got Brogdon as a great play. We got Sabonis. We got Miles Turner. And I like to call these Pacers the Portland Trailblazers of the East, because they suck, even though they feel like they have some good players. And they're playing the Jazz, and I think the Jazz are going to be able to take it to them. What are you doing here with these Pacers? Do you think these studs are going to be worth spending on, or are you going over to some of the Jazz options against this terrible defensive team in Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, this game is probably like the least attractive out of all three, to be honest. I mean, it has the largest spread, and there's just not a lot to like about this game. I mean, the Pacers are off a back-to-back, going to elevation, and they just lost to a shorthanded Nuggets team that literally had no one. And so, Utah has been a great team all year, while Indiana has just been the opposite. So, I mean, I personally don't like this game a lot, but obviously if you think the game can stay close, it would make for probably the most contrarian game stack on the slate. I personally don't think you need to get that cute, but there are some good plays in this game, like TJ McConnell. He's 5'5", so he'd probably be my favorite piece from the Pacers side. His price did lower from yesterday, and he's been playing well of late. You don't have LeVert in the mix, so I think TJ is a great play if you want to go there. Malcolm Brogdon's price increased like by 1,000-ish, so now he's 8.5K, so that price range is a little bit uncomfortable for Malcolm Brogdon, even though LeVert's out. And then you have the other Pacers stud, Sabonis, who got a 1K price decrease. And finally looks like himself last night and dropped a 50 burger. So those three would probably be my interest from the Pacers side if I were to play anyone. And then on the Jazz side, you can't really deny Donovan Mitchell and how great he's been playing. He's had massive usage and probably would be my favorite from the Jazz side. But if you're kind of predicting blowouts, which I don't really like to kind of do, Clarkson is under 5K on DraftKings, which has me a little interested. So, he could catch that blowout run at the end and just, close out the Pacers at the end of the game. So, yeah, those would be my interest from the game. But overall, just back to back for Indy and elevation, it's concerning to me. And, I'll probably be really light on this game or off of it completely and just picking from the other two.
If you do need a stud spend up, Donovan Mitchell is definitely a guy that I think is worth spending on a bit. I mean, I think he could take a really nice leap in his game this year and become an even better player than he's shown. And this is a great matchup to do it against the Indiana Pacers. I think he'd absolutely crush him. Rudy Gobert, I don't really want to spend on. We typically play Rudy Gobert on these kind of slates because we're like, hey, if I can just grab 40 fantasy points, the short slate, I got the salary, I got the value, you just kind of plug them in. But I don't think it's the case today. You got Bogdanovich, another interesting option that I kind of like the forward position. And then the other side, you mentioned Glock. Brogdon's price went up a bit. Sabonis is always a good option who has a huge ceiling, but this is not a great matchup for him. And then Miles Turner, I mean, man, Hoop, did you imagine a day where you'd be paying $7K early on in the NBA season for Miles Turner? Like, I don't want to do that, especially in this matchup. What are you doing here with Miles Turner at that egregious price tag?
I didn't imagine it because I'm not going to do it. Makes it easy. I mean, it's just, man, so we only got a 3-game slate. It's unfortunate this game is on the slate. Just not many options. I mean, on the Utah Jazz, it's very simple. Say the same thing. You're going to hear this over and over from me throughout the season. Like, they're just not a DFS friendly team when they're at full strength. They're basically at full strength. The only guy I would probably consider would be Donovan Mitchell at the 9K, Bogdanovich at a weak power forward position. It's not great. You can get hot from 3. Outside of that, like, I'm just not coming to this game. A team I don't ever really want to be on when they're at full strength. Yes, if Donovan Mitchell's out or Conley's out, we're going to play Ingles and Jordan Clarkson. We'll have those opportunities throughout the season. But man, full strength Jazz team is not one that's good for DFS. And now the problem with the Jazz on the other side is they're such a good defensive team. They're good at home. Playing guys against them, not the greatest move either. You look at Brogdon, $1,000 increase from yesterday. Like, I didn't play him yesterday. I'm not going to play him today. $1,000 increase against the Utah Jazz. I know LeVert's out, but they still have just a lot of these similar guys that they're going to play. Holiday, Torrey Craig, like guys like that. Sabonis would probably be my favorite. It would only be like a last guy in type thing. And like I said, he finally did look pretty good last night. But yeah, he received $1,000 decrease. Brogdon received the increase. Probably go to Sabonis as a last guy in type thing. Miles Turner at 7K. I'm not paying 7K for Miles Turner. I'll keep it very simple. So just not the greatest game. That's a challenging part about the slate. We know all the ownership is going to be in this late game for the most part. The Heat, Clippers. And it's just hard to differentiate yourself on the slate because do you really want to come to Pacers and Jazz to be different? My answer is no. And I know it's probably a challenging thing for tournament players today to really try and get different because there's just not a lot of options.
So I think my answer is yes on getting this game a little bit hoop. And this is why. I think Donovan Mitchell, the thing I like is kind of what we talked about the other day. We talked about how in the blowouts, Donovan Mitchell will still get his run, right? I mean, he's going to get that work. Quinn Snyder still plays his guy. So I feel like there is some built-in safety there at that guard position. I don't know. I kind of like him as an option that I think will make you a little bit different. It's tough. Obviously, on like a 3-game slate, what is considered different, right, Hoop? I mean, obviously, you don't want to be having 5 2% plays. Having a 2% play on a 13-game slate versus a 3-game slate is a lot different. You're really good at eating some chalk and making really good teams. Can you expand upon that, about not getting too cute with your lineups on some of these 3-gamers?
Yeah, I mean, NBA, that's where a lot of people kind of get into the super contrarian people get into big trouble in NBA because the good plays are the good plays. And a lot of times what you see taking down GPPs is people eating a ton of chalk and then just making those little tiny pivots. So maybe a 2-person pivot or a 3-player pivot. And, tonight for me personally, that would be hard to find those little pivots because I don't want to be on this Pacers Jazz game all that much. Yes, I can find some pieces I like here individually, like Donovan Mitchell or maybe Sabonis, but man, it's just it's very tough. But yeah, in NBA DFS in general, you don't want to be like out on a reservation by yourself. PGA DFS, sure. NFL, you can play the high variant. Baseball, yes, definitely. You're good if you're going far off and in places that no one else is. But NBA DFS, especially on a 3-game slate, it's really really hard to find those pivots, and we just it's tough on the slate to find those guys.
All right, Glock, let me ask you about one guy that's really, it's kind of off the board, but I was just looking at it. It might make sense, especially if you think the game blows out a bit. Again, this is not a core play, right? You won't see him on the cash chart. I mean, Hassan Whiteside at this price tag of 4.3K, if you look at the game log, I mean, the worst game he's had all season long is 13 fantasy points at 4.3K. And then the next worst was 17.75. He could get more minutes in this matchup where you got Miles Turner and Sabonis. So what do you think of Hassan Whiteside, especially if there is some blowout, right? Let's say they pull Rudy Gobert a little bit early and the game gets ugly. Whiteside can eat in a short amount of time at 4.3K. Do you have any interest in him as like a really, really contrarian tournament option?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to get the chat excited because I feel like every night I'm hearing Whiteside like shills. Like everyone just loves to play Whiteside for some reason, especially last night. Everyone was like Whiteside, Whiteside, Whiteside. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't paid much attention to his game logs, and they do look nice. And there is a center play in Precious Achua who will have way more ownership than Whiteside. So as a tournament option and a pivot, I feel like that's really sharp by you, Mangone.
And I mean, listen, Precious Achua, like he always gets there, right, Glock? So he's the lock and load. Never has failed us at all this season, right, Glock?
Yeah, I mean, if he falls into 10 rebounds, you just pray that he could get those 10 points with it. But yeah, I also wanted to touch on that one point about you playing Donovan Mitchell. Like maybe one route I was thinking about taking, where you want to get different in one spot is like maybe you play all these Heat guys, and then instead of running it back with Paul George, you take some discount on Donovan Mitchell, and you play him as your spend up guard. He'll be at low ownership compared to PG, so that could be one way you get different in your lineup construction. And I feel like that was a good point you brought up in playing Donovan.
All right, Hoop. So you like to lead the game logs. What do you think of the Whiteside idea? Because I had noticed he'd been doing stuff early in the season, but it is not a bad matchup, I guess. And we're trying to make stuff up on a 3-game slate to try and help us get a little bit different. But would you consider it at all? If I can get you on board, that means I know it's a good one. Oh, you're on mute.
In tournaments, yeah. I mean, Whiteside's a guy you can always kind of make the case for if you're playing like a blowout script in this game. If you think that the Jazz handle the Pacers, which is very possible. Yeah, and Whiteside. I mean, the key with a guy like Whiteside is we know what Whiteside's all about. He can get you 40 fantasy points in like 18 minutes, and there's not many guys in the league that are capable of doing that. Might not have like that extreme upside anymore, but he can rack up the fantasy points in a hurry. 3-game slate. I don't hate it at all.
All right, let's move on. Let's go over to the next game. We got the Miami Heat. We got the Los Angeles Clippers. Hoop, before we do that, let's check the people watching, right? We got about 430, which, hey, it's a slow Thursday. We got the showdown stuff, which speaking of showdown, we got Tambo, Big T, and JC. They just did a showdown show. So again, use that code RPSHeater25, get you 25% off your first payment, and check out the showdown show after us. But Hoop, what's the word here? What do we need on the likes here before this last game?
Man, in terms of ratio, the Jets, they're already doing a pretty good job. I mean, we got 430 watching. We're at 180. I mean, let's just get to 220, and we'll get the winners at the end.
All right, we'll give the winners at the end, and we'll break this game down. And I think we won't breeze by this one too much because there is a lot to talk about here. Kyle Lowry would be an amazing play if you get Tyler Hero out, you get Bam out, but they are both questionable right now. I know some people are speculating. There's like Title saying on Instagram he looks good. I think on Twitter there's people posting, oh, the Miami Heat Twitter account is tweeting out that he's locked in. Like, I mean, I don't know if they're going to play, but again, create a plan. If they do or don't play, have the pivots ready to go. Duncan Robinson, I think, is a good play and a decent value, even if those other options play, because Jimmy Butler is out, which is big. You won't see me rostering PJ Tucker even in this spot because the dude always stands in the corner and does a great job of it. And I'm not chasing the 29.6 game he just had against the Lakers. I'm out on that. Obviously, if Bam sits, I mean, Dwayne Devin would be a great center option that you'd want to get into your lineups. And then we got K-Falix boys and Max Struss, who I think is questionable. I don't know if Gabe Vincent would definitely be in there, but that is news to watch for sure, because this would be some really, really good value. And some people might be locked into players where they cannot get them in their lineups. Glock, talk about the Heat first. How are you breaking down this with the injury news?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think I just plan on, Hero being in and Bam being in. And then if they're not, obviously you have some pretty easy pivots. Like, you're going to go down from Bam in your center spot to Deadman probably. You're going to have extra salary to go up from Hero to Lowry. So those are some pivots you have just right off the bat right there. But like Mangone said, you definitely need to have like 2v2, 3v3, 4v4. Like, you need to have a plan in place going into tonight. Like, okay, Hero's in, Bam's in. This is my lineup. All right, they get ruled out. You get that Twitter notification. This is exactly what I'm going to pivot to. You don't want to be scrambling around, and you just want to have a plan in place so that you know exactly what players you want to be on, going into the slate. So yeah,
and one more thing. Don't be afraid. If you got a lot of time tonight, you're sitting around. Also do the Hero is out and Bam is in, and Bam is out and Hero's in. Like, look at them all. Like, we got the time too. It's a late game, so be sure to check that out too.
Yeah, like, you always got to have a plan in DFS, and that's like, if you don't have a plan, it's like a huge mistake that you're making. But yeah, I mean, I think Markieff Morris was ruled out already, and Struss is questionable. So if Struss were also to miss, I think Falak was saying it in the Discord chat as well. But that's also a key piece of news, because Gabe Vincent would also get a big boost in playing time. So yeah, if you have Struss and Markieff out, basically you have 9 guys, including Hero and Bam, that would probably play. 11, including that Yurt7 guy, and then Haslam. I don't think Dusty Haslam will get any playing time, so you could just keep that number at 10. But yeah, I mean, if Bam is in, if Lowry's in, these are like guys all would be in line for huge minutes, 30 plus. And so they make for great plays on the Miami side.
And I can't say his name, Yurt7. He's a pretty good fantasy point producer. So he is someone that, man, if like you need a crazy like pivot, like you're down and you got the salary and you want someone that can maybe get you a bomb and the game blows out, like he could be the guy. How are you handling this Heat news? Obviously, it's very important with this slate. You could lock yourself into some early guys, but this Heat news could be a real slate breaker.
Yeah, I'm just, going along as if these guys are going to be in, if Hero and Bam are going to be in, like I kind of talked about in the opening. Like, if you build your team and you load up early because you don't want to get, jammed into making a late swap into just one game, and you lock in some of these earlier guys, you lock in like Scotty Barnes or, whoever from the earlier games, then you can't play Hero and Bam. I mean, you're done. The night's over for you, because these guys are in just phenomenal spots. They're phenomenal. The price tags are so good that if Jimmy Butler were in, I'd still be playing these guys. So with Butler out, I think you just have to build it. And so if we get the news that they're out, you pivot to guys like Deadman, you go to Bledsoe, you go to Batum, you go to Zubac. You just have a lot of guys in this game. You're going to leave salary on the table, but you're not completely dead. If you lock in too many guys early and you can't play Hero and Bam, and they end up playing, you are dead. So I'm just going to proceed and load up on the Miami Heat. It's a phenomenal spot here without Jimmy Butler and those other pieces. Struss as well being out. Like they'll have a tight rotation tonight. Hero, Lowry, Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker, Bam. I think all really good plays. And then on the Clippers side, I like the Clippers side too. Like I really like Paul George. Obviously, if you're going to play a lot of Miami Heat guys, having some Paul George is super important. My boy, I mean, I got a lot of shit for picking Eric Bledsoe as the play of the day on I believe it was Tuesday, and he got the job done. He got like 32 fantasy points. He got Reggie Jack. I like Batum too. Batum has been really good actually, playing about 30 minutes, and the production has been very solid across the board. Good 3-point shooter, good rebounder. Give me some Batum for sure. Terrence Mann. So there are a lot of options. If something happens and you have Hero and Bam in your lineup, and they're for some reason ruled out, there are a lot of options in this game. You won't be drawing dead. Just the premier game of the slate. And obviously this game is going to have more ownership than any game by far, but it's just such a good spot without Jimmy Butler. So you have to be loading up here.
Yeah, and make sure whenever you are putting your lineups in, don't put Bam at center. Make sure he's in that utility slot if you can. Obviously, then you could pivot to a Zubac or a Dedmon if you want to make a different pivot. But if you do lock yourself into an Andre Drummond, put Bam in the utility. Make sure not to make that mistake. K Falk will really get on you on that in the Discord chat. He's always in the Discord getting on people about that and giving the core plays and giving the winners for the people and the charts too. Hoop, have you seen many of the K Falk charts as of late? I haven't seen too many, but I've seen it here and there.
We need a full throttle chart. I mean, we got to get these things rolling off the presses. I mean, we're like a month into the season. It's go time for the charts, baby.
Yeah, he said he needed some sample size. I don't know how much longer we need, how much more samples, but I hope they're coming soon. We need the chart man in action.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. We need the chart man to start getting going there. I'm gonna hit with the either today or tomorrow and get an update on that because I want to know what's going on with the charts. I saw it a couple times, but we need to see him just full throttle, as Hoop said before. Glock, what else you got here in this game? Obviously, the Heat news is big, but like Paul George, Eric Bledsoe, is Luke Kennard in play? He's someone I liked the other day and really had a terrible game. There are options to pivot to. You got Zubac. You even have a Hartenstein, which I think if the game got really, really ugly and those guys did sit, he could see a little bit more run. I think Terrence Mann is another really good option. I mean, there are guys you can pivot to. Hoop is right about that. What are you doing here with the Heat and the Clippers?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your usual guys that are viable for the Clippers for sure. I mean, Paul George at the head of the helm, just dominating all the usage and trying to do basically everything he can while Kawhi is gone. I'm pretty sure Serge Ibaka is out. So yeah, that would raise the minutes limit on Zubac and Hartenstein, I feel like. So, there's just another good low-owned center option that, could possibly crush in this matchup against Bam. So I think Zubac is a good option. Reggie Jackson has been playing well. Terrence Mann, Kennard, Batum, all of those guys are always in play because Ty Lue just loves going to them and they're in line for 30 minutes plus as well in a close game. So yeah, I mean, Paul George is obviously my favorite play on the Clippers side. He's played fantastic and probably doesn't want to lose to a shorthanded Miami team at home. But other than that, you have all your other good options, just Reggie Jackson, Nicholas Batum, Luke Kennard would probably be my least favorite, but yeah, that would round it out from the Clippers side.
All right, that rounds it out on the Clippers side there. Hoop, do you have any final thoughts on this game, or do you just want to move on to the plays of the day for the people?
Yeah, I mean, the final thoughts, like I said, is I'm going to go ahead and proceed like Hero and Bam are in. And if for some reason they get ruled out, I think there's still a lot of good plays in this game. You're not completely dead. And like I said, if you fade these guys and they do play, you most likely are dead. So I'm going to proceed like they're in, make the necessary pivots if I have to. And it's a really good game to me. I like a lot of plays in this game.
Yep, definitely have a lot of flexibility there. And make sure to be in the Discord chat. Again, use that code RPSHeater25, get you 25% off. You get all the content and get in that Discord chat so you can get notified when the news does come out. We'll hit you with the and let you know. And if you're out there, yelling at the carpet guy, Hoop, you'll get hit with the and then you'll find out, oh, listen, carpet guy, I got to go and take care of this. Just make sure to put down the right stuff and not mess everything up, Hoop, right? That's too late for the mess up part. I got the wife is not happy. Like I said, it's a disaster over here. Well, hopefully you can get that moving there. Get a nice ship tonight in the showdown slate and then just get it all redone again.
That would help.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to the plays of the day because the people got it there. They got it home. So, we don't have to withhold them, guys. You can be all happy about that. Let's go to you first, Glock. Give me your play of the day. Who is the guy that you are loading up on in your lineups?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll come as a surprise to you because I really love that last game. But I think one of, the few pieces that I get from this first game is going to be Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes will be my play of the day. I think Hoop mentioned it earlier, power forward is like a really weak position. And I know people will like OG a lot. So I'll take the 1K discount down to Scotty Barnes, who can probably match the ceiling at a weak power forward position for the night. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go crazy in this first game, but Scotty Barnes will be one of my staples from the early game. One to three pieces from this first game.
All right, Hoop, are you going back to Eric Bledsoe? Is it someone from the late game? Is it an early game? Who is your guy? Who is the play of the day?
Yeah, I mean, Bledsoe is tempting, but I am going to go with one of his teammates. So it's going to be Nicholas Batum. Really like Batum. He's been playing well. So give me Batum as the rich parents play of the day.
All right. I was picking either one from the Jazz game and the Pacers game, either one from either one from the top or the bottom. So I can't decide. I'll just give them both. How's that sound? I like Donovan Mitchell is a really good leverage spend up. If you want to spend up guy that could be lower owned, obviously it's a 3-game slate. He's not going to be 2%. Like Pensac likes it, but he is going to have some lower ownership. And then you got Hassan Whiteside, I think at the center position could be a really, really interesting contrarian play. Of course, if Bam happens to sit, then Dedmon is a better value more than likely, but that doesn't mean that Whiteside can't get the job done. So I gave you 2 today. So, maybe that makes up for the last time that the people got upset with me for not giving out the plays, but those are 2 guys I'm definitely looking at in my tournaments to get a little bit of leverage with. Hoop, final thoughts on the slate? Anything else to talk about? You want to, tell the people one price again, you love saying that, so you can always throw that in there. And there's no JSU coming up too, right? No Big T. So this is it. I mean, this is the end of the show and everyone's got to get in the Discord chat to get the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, right before we came on, JSU, Big T, and Tambo broke down the showdown slate for tonight. So not the greatest Thursday night game with the Ravens and the the Dolphins, but still huge prize pools, money to be made. So make sure you check out that video. Great breakdown of the slate. We'll have all our NBA content and NFL showdown content up. Big night in the industry, despite the crappy games. I mean, it's a crappy 3-game slate. The Thursday game's not great for NFL, but we're gonna make some cheese. Be it see a lot of RPS at the top of the leaderboard, like always.
We got Hoops Cash Core that's getting up there now. We got Big T's player pool. It's not up yet, but be sure to check that out. He does it for almost all the sports. He does it for college basketball, college football. So check all that out. It's worth signing up for. One price again, RPS Heater, 25 gets you 25% off. Glock, any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Yeah, I mean, just pay attention to the news tonight in the NBA. Have a plan, plan A, plan B, plan C. Just in case some of the players that you don't expect to get ruled out. Should be a fun one. And I think our edge is definitely staying in the Discord, being aware of all the news. So if you're not in the Discord, definitely get in there because, if people's cores like myself aren't on the site every day, we're dropping them in the chat. K-Falix dropping in the chat. Bobby Gomes is dropping his core in the chat if they're not on the site. So yeah, I think Discord is one of the most valuable things to be in Run Pure. So definitely get in there if you're not.
Yep, get in there, check out AP's heat map. But that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mango and Hoop and Glock, we will see you guys later.